We live in a time of instant gratification. Things are easily accessible to us. There's no waiting. Those days are gone. Want to read a good book while sipping on some Earl Grey? Just whip out your phone, purchase it, download it, and you're good to go. As simple as that. Libraries and bookstores, soon to be a thing of the past. Along with so many other physical goods, everything is digital now. But back then, people had to wait for things. Patience wasn't even something to even think of having. You just had it. And there was nothing but time and a lot of thinking, where famous philosophers exchanged fascinating ideas. Academics came to life and a flood of information were documented on papyrus. A library like no other that held an unknown amount of scrolls. A place that was considered a citadel of human consciousness, now gone. Located in Egypt, it was named the Library of Alexandria. Now let's dig deep and embrace the strange. Something strange about the Library of Alexandria. You know, no matter how much we have evolved, how advanced our technologies have become, the teachings from ancient civilization always seem to apply. It's the basic tool we use in our everyday lives, from math down to medicine. We may have surpassed their teachings, but in many ways, it's like they were ahead of our time. The things they have constructed, they still stand today. How they were created is a head scratcher. I mean, the tools ancient civilization acquired to build the pyramids still remain unknown. And advanced technology till this day we have not figured out. They also had an understanding and respect for the universe and nature. They understood how important it is to keep a harmonious relationship with it. And we all know that in order to pass down these information, we must teach one another. Each one teach one. But in order to spread the information worldwide, we must document it. Imagine having all the information in the world, all its secrets and understanding in a single building. The Library of Alexandria was storage for all these gathered data. Books kept there spoke of every subject concerning humanity, health, astronomy, science, geology, philosophy, mysticism, magic, the spiritual world, alchemy, plays, comedy, and the list goes on. Now, this library was built in Alexandria in the northwest part of Egypt, running alongside the Mediterranean Sea. It is believed that Alexandria was founded after Alexander the Great in 331 BC during his epic conquest, and they were epic. But it was Demetrius of Phalerum who founded the Royal Library of Alexandria. It was also known as the Museum of Alexandria, established in 283 BC. Now, Demetrius of Phalerum was an Athenian politician. He was the sole ruler of Athens for 10 years. He was then exiled by his enemies in 307 BC and found his way to Alexandria in 297 BC, where he found refuge. Actually, he was more than a politician. He was an orator, a student of Theophrastus, and is believed he might have been a student of Aristotle as well. He wrote extensively on the subject of history, rhetoric, and literary criticism. It was the extensive knowledge and deep learning that inspired King Ptolemy Soter, ruler of Egypt, to assign Demetrius the task of creating a library. And boy, this was more than a library. I mean, this place was huge. It was a place of study which included lecture areas, gardens. I mean, this place had a zoo. Imagine going to your local library and reading the book. Meanwhile, a giraffe is walking by you. This place was filled with exotic animals. There was even an astronomical observatory. They created a citadel of consciousness to encourage a strong curiosity towards the cosmos, which means order of the world. In time, the library became a cosmopolitan center of culture, consisting of local Egyptians, Macedonian soldiers, Greek immigrants, and a large Jewish population. They became citizens of the cosmos. This is where cosmopolitan ideals were first being realized. People began to embrace diversity, although they still practiced slavery. It was estimated that this place held at one time over 500,000 documents. We were talking about documents that held knowledge from Assyria, Greece, Persia, Egypt, India, and many other nations. This place caught the attention of many all over the world. Over 100 scholars lived in this museum to perform research, write lectures, or translate and copy documents. It cultivated several of ancient world's most renowned scholars. I mean, people like Euclid, who was one of the most important mathematicians, founder of geometry. His teaching is still being taught today. And Eratosthenes, who invented the discipline of geography, including the terminology that is still being used today. He was able to calculate the circumference of the earth with such accuracy. Herophilus, who spoke on how the brain controlled thought, and it wasn't the heart that controlled thought. It was a place where all came to teach, learn, and exchange ideas of life. Ideas and stories documented on parchment, papyrus, and vellum. Ships docked at the harbor of Alexandria were confiscated of their books. You see, Ptolemy's goal was to obtain a copy of every text in the world. So, during his reign, Ptolemy built one of the ancient wonders of the world, the Lighthouse of Alexandria. I'm sure you've heard of it. It was used as a beacon to lure ships into the harbor, in part to draw in visitors to the museum and library. It was genius actually, because he then instituted a policy requiring that every ship docked within city limits had to turn over all their scrolls for copying. The library scribes would then diligently duplicate the work longhand and keep the originals for themselves, giving the owners the copy. There were even professional manuscripts hunters. I mean, they had book hunters who were sent to scour the world for it. Anywhere it could be found. They combed every culture they encountered in search for any ancient manuscripts they could find. They were considered treasures in the entire Enlightenment empire of Ptolemy. Unfortunately, as much information that was gathered, there was an obstacle that prevented the scholars from using their ideas for the good of everyone. Much of their doings in the library was theoretical. There was no way of practicing their ideas, so there were no breakthroughs. People had the blueprints to build, but didn't have a way to put it into action. Eventually, the ancient Library of Alexandria became unfavorable. Through time, the library had been modified within each hands of a new ruler, from Greek to Roman to Christians, finally to Muslim, each ruler feeling threatened by the knowledge the library contained. It was left unfunded, and to top it off, it was claimed by Caesar. Finally, paganism became outlawed in Alexandria. Scholars were beaten to death by Christians. The final blow came from the Arab rulers who ordered all the books to be burned. Well, this is one of 4 possible occasions for the partial or complete destructions of the library, one of them being Caesar burned it down mistakenly. But what was the threat? What were they trying to hide? It is said that some scrolls were saved. As a matter of fact, some of them are the foundations in academic teachings. Some were buried and not found as of yet. Some say that some books are locked in the Vatican. Hidden truth? Man created religion out of lies, maybe? Religion that was forced upon people for control? Sweeping the truth under the rug. Truth that contradicted their religion, maybe? What was the text that were threatening? Life on other planets? Sacred and magical information? Shamanism? Magic? Sorcery? It's funny how so many stories told for many years are considered myths. But myths always have some truth to it, and it also has an origin. Like the saying goes, history is written by the victors. But who's the author?